What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Home Studio Hangout podcast. Happy New Year, happy 2025 to everyone. Very excited that we made it. We made it out of 2024. It's a new year, a new time to do some really cool stuff. Very excited for this year, what we have planned here on the podcast, on my personal YouTube channel, and projects and stuff that I'm going to be working on this year. I already have a good little schedule through April booking out, and yeah, very excited about all of that. But on today's episode of the podcast, I wanted to go through some wins and losses and look back at 2024 personally myself and talk about 3 wins and 3 losses and some things that we can look forward in those, and maybe, I can show what I learned. Maybe you can learn from them as well. And we're also going to talk at the end about something that we're going to be doing for the rest of the year, and I'm really excited about it. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to alternate between a win and a loss and kind of go through everything, and then we'll kind of talk about at the end what I want to do for the rest of the year. Once again, I'm very excited about that. So first win that I want to talk about is this podcast, the Home Studio Hangout podcast, as of before the end of 2024, crossed 10,000 downloads. And that is just insane. I sent a text to Josh, screenshotted the analytics and showed him that we crossed 10,000 downloads, and he was going crazy. It's insane to me that you guys listen, and 10,000 of anything is just insane. We have a really cool core group of people that listen to this, and I'm really thankful for all of you, that people actually are out there listening to us talk and listening to these guests that I bring on and edit all these videos and all that kind of stuff for. And I'm super grateful for all of you. 10,000 downloads is crazy. So once again, I just want to say thank you. That was a huge win for both the podcast and me personally. If you could, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop in the comment what your favorite episode is, or maybe the one that you learned the most from, or maybe the one that you found us on, if you remember that. And if you are not and you're listening, I'm going to post a Q&A thing on our Instagram timeline, on our stories. Go check that out, and I'm going to ask the same exact question. So if you want to do it over there as well. I'd love to see which ones are resonating with you guys and which episodes you're enjoying, because we'd love to do more of what you guys enjoy. We'll go to our first loss now. So our first loss is I set out at the beginning of last year to attempt to do a bi-weekly newsletter, because I read so many books and I listen to so many podcasts, and we talk to some great people on this podcast. And I really wanted to try to do a bi-weekly newsletter called the Music Maker's Handbook, and I just have not been able to be consistent with that. It's been the toughest thing to be able to be consistent with. I'm not sure why, because I still I will write stuff out. I just can't get myself to do the newsletter thing. I need to figure out a way to make it a little easier on myself. I was doing a lot last year, to be honest, and I may have overdone myself with adding that to my plate on top of all of the other things, music production, starting a production business, and doing the podcast and trying to make YouTube content. So may have been a little bit much for me to also do the newsletter on top of that, but we'll see. I'm going to try to get consistent with it again. So there'll be a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. I've got some really great, what I think are really great newsletters that have already gone out. I'm going to attempt to keep going with bi-weekly starting next Monday. They come out on Mondays. Little thing for you to take in and enjoy for your week. Start you out from a creative standpoint, or maybe learn something to start the week. So yeah, that was my first loss, is not quite sticking to the bi-weekly schedule of the newsletter, but doesn't mean we're not going to keep on trying to do it. Not just going to push it aside, not going to just give up on it. I am going to keep trying to make that newsletter more consistent and get myself into this writing habit. The second win I wanted to talk about is playing the Ryman Auditorium. Now, this is crazy. I've talked about it a little bit in a previous episode. It was that episode when the hurricane happened and I couldn't post for a month. The Ryman Auditorium show with James Tucker was insane. It was crazy. It was a bucket list thing. We played to 2,500 people or something like that. Sold out show at the Ryman with Dylan Gossett. Shout out Dylan for bringing us on to those shows. That was huge. Walking out on that stage and hearing that crowd erupt for us when we are just kind of not super well known, it was insane. But also hearing some people sing along to some of James's songs that I've produced and mixed, because I produce and mix for James. And that was crazy. Being able to play bass and sing backup BGVs with him, harmonies and stuff with him for that was also crazy. And that historic, legendary room was just so cool. And it's going to be a night that I will forever remember. It's just crazy. It's not. I'll post a picture of it right here. I'll see if I have any video of it as well that I can pull from James. If you like country, Americana, folk music, go check out James Tucker. I produce and mix a lot of his stuff, and always excited to work with him. He's so good, and he's an incredible songwriter, great storyteller in his songs. It's kind of like the thing that he does the best, in my opinion, is writing these songs that tell such captivating stories with a little hint of nostalgia to them all, and it's so good. It's so good. So go check that out if you're interested, if that interests you at all. And win number 2, playing the Ryman. Huge. Number 2 on my losses is I missed my reading goal. Now, some of you might think, oh, you didn't make it. I got so freaking close. I'm like a little mad at myself because I got so freaking close. So I had kind of 2 goals for my reading. I had a baseline goal of I wanted to read 50 books this year in 2024, which I did in 2023. I believe I read like 40 or 50 books in 2023. In 2024, I wanted to read 50 books, and then I had a secondary stretch goal of 60. So if I hit that 50, 60 was going to be my stretch goal. I read some amazing books, but some of them were really, really, really long. I started the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere books, which are like the Mistborn series, the 2 Mistborn series. I finished both of those this year, and I think I read some of those in 2023 and the second era this beginning of this year. And then I also started the Stormlight Archive, which is his like big magnum opus story, and that first book by itself is 1,004-ish pages. I think it's like a 48 to 50-ish hour audiobook. Took a really long time to get through. And then I read a bunch of other really great, bigger fantasy books. I read The Hunger of the Gods, which is like 750-ish pages. I read some chonker books. I also read a lot of like cool business books, some cool business idea books. But the problem with some of those is they're so dense with ideas and knowledge and presenting information to you that it's not really anything you can read super quickly. I wasn't trying to like rush through it and not get the information, which I inevitably had to do because I felt the need to get through, these 50 books. But I got to 48 books. I got 2 books shy of my goal for the year. It was crazy, but I feel like 48 books is still amazing, honestly. Like I can't fault myself too much for that. 48 books is a lot of books in the course of a year. So what I learned from that was this year, I'm actually going to not set myself a reading goal. I'm a big fan of this booktuber, book talk guy named Michael Kist. I'll link one of his videos in the description, but he's an incredible dude who reviews books and talks about like these big fantasy books. He's getting me into like the more of the history side of nonfiction. But Kist made a video recently talking about how he's not setting a reading goal this year for himself because he wants to digest a little more. He reads a lot of like really thick history books, and he wants to get into more of the context of some of that time and learn more about like really intricate topics as far as history goes. I've kind of have been thinking about doing the same thing, and kind of watching that video honestly gave me permission to do the same. We kind of get in the rat race of wanting to like hit a number, and then you kind of miss out on enjoying the book or enjoying the thing or getting the information out of the books that we want to read, you know? So I'm actually not going to set myself a reading goal this year. I'm going to try, obviously, just to read as many books as I can. But if something like a book needs me to take time with it, I want to be able to do that. And so I don't want to feel like I'm being rushed to finish all of these books. So we'll come back to the book thing in a minute. But yeah, that's my my second L for 2024 is miss my reading goal by 2 books. So close. So very close. Before I get to my last win, I have like a pseudo win on my personal YouTube channel. I just hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which is crazy. I haven't been able to post this consistently this year because projects have just been happening so much, which is a great thing. And we'll talk about that in a minute for my last win. But I haven't been able to be as consistent as I want to be. I've been trying to get out a video-ish every month or two, just to stay at least a little bit consistent. And I want to try to be a little more consistent this year. But I did it. I hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. That is like one of the first goals that you get into whenever you're doing the whole YouTube thing. I would really love for this channel, the Home Studio Hangout channel on YouTube, to hit 1,000. I think we're at like 180 something maybe subscribers. I'm not 100% sure. Would love to try to get this one up to that as well. Don't really know how to do that, but I'm going to keep pushing on this podcast and see how it goes. But that wasn't as big of a win. That was more of like an accidental win. So I don't really count that as a big win for the year. More of a thing that just kind of, I looked at my analytics going into the new year a couple days, I think, before Christmas, and I had crossed 1,000, and I was like, that's crazy. For anybody who subscribes over there, thank you. And if you don't, go subscribe over there. It's a fun time. We talk about music production and building businesses, and a lot of stuff we talk about on this podcast, just like more condensed and less conversational. But my number one biggest win for this year is I doubled my income for 2024 over the previous year in 2023, which is crazy. This is only my like second and a half year of being full-time freelancing. I've been doing the, freelancing music production thing for like forever. Like it's 7 or 8 years at this point, but I've always had some sort of like part-time job to fall back on. And a couple years ago, I really honed in and kind of built out my systems and got everything going and got more consistent. And I was able to go full time last year, had a great year, great first year, a little stressful, but not too bad. This year, we crushed it, people. We crushed it. We doubled what I brought in, and I was able to pay my bills and stress out a little bit less than usual. And I want to clarify also that this doesn't mean by any means that I am making a crap ton of money. Definitely not. Definitely just means that I am not stressing out month to month trying to make sure we're paying all of our bills. We are doing better, and I have a little bit of runway more so than usual than the previous year. And I have some consistent paying clients now that are coming in monthly and, doing the thing. And I'm just really proud of myself, and I'm really proud of a lot of the other people that are working around me that are doing a very similar thing. And I just wanted to be pumped for myself for one, because that is definitely the biggest thing that I did for the year. So very, very pumped about that. The last loss for me, this is actually very sad for me, is that big win. I doubled my income, huge. Sad part about that is I worked so much this year. Like, I think I worked, God, like I barely had any free weekends. It was a struggle for me the last couple weeks to like not work and do holiday stuff. It's been a lot for me to do all of that. And because of that, my big loss is I had to cut back on how much time I did into any of my hobbies. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you know I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. I love playing D&D, and I have a regular group that I play with every other week, a couple times a month, generally 2 or 3 times a month. And I haven't been able to play D&D with them since June of 2024, which is insanely sad. They had to do something with my character, and it worked out that I really just needed to take a break. I was going to Houston, which I made a podcast episode about, but I went to Houston to go do that stuff. So I had to take a break for a couple weeks to finish that, get that project going and everything. And I couldn't play. So they had my character do some stuff, and my character has been kind of lost in limbo now in our game. And I haven't been able to play because I haven't had the time to play anyway. So that's kind of sad. Secondly, I haven't been able to play any video games, which is sad. I bought some new video game stuff, some like retro game stuff, and RG35XX SP, if you know what that is. It's like a, if you ever had a Game Boy SP, it's like that clamshell body style. And I was a big fan of that form factor. I never had an SP. I had the wide Game Boy Advanced. But I always wanted one of the Game Boy Advanced SPs, but I got one of these like from Ambernick and retrofitted it with a new OS, put a bunch of games on it, put a bunch of stuff, ROMs on it from games that I've had in the past and things like that. And I had so much fun for like the first week that I played it, but then it's like, oh, time to get back to work. Gotta focus in, hone in, do all the things. So there wasn't really a whole lot of time to do that. I bought some Switch games that I just haven't been able to play. I think I've beaten like 1 or 2 games this year, and I've barely been able to play half the games that I've bought. So I think the only reason I even beat a game this year was because the hurricane happened, and I had my Switch, and that was kind of the only way I could like pass the time, was playing Switch games with my son. So we beat a Mario game, and we beat this platformer game called Bzzzt that I was really pumped about. Very reminiscent of like SNES 16-bit titles. But yeah, those are the only 2 games I was actually able to beat this year. They were shorter games anyway. So the only reason of that is we had a national disaster happen in our area, and that's the only reason I could actually play, because I couldn't physically work. You know, this is kind of back to the whole like missing my reading goal loss. I had to cut back on how much time I read. I wasn't able to read nearly as much as I have been able to the previous couple of years. Haven't had the time to do it because I've been working. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I can't really complain about it too much, but you know, a lot of people are struggling for work, but it just kind of sucks that, you know, I love what I do and I've been able to do it, and it's come at the cost of not being able to do some of the other things that I love to do for hobbies. But you know, I also understand that that's kind of part of it. I talked about it a little bit in the previous episode if you want to go back and listen to it with Josh, but we talked about like having the priorities, and those 3 things just didn't fall into my priorities. I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do because I had to focus on being there for my family. I had to focus on the work stuff. I've been having to focus on being a member of my community and haven't really had time to do the other stuff that I've been wanting to do. But my hope is to, going into 2025, make a little bit of extra time, not have to work as hard. I think I worked an insane amount last year, and it came at the cost of a lot of free time and enjoying stuff, and I just haven't had the time. And so I want to get back into doing things that I enjoy again this year, and I'm really pumped to do that. The way I'm going to do that and stay with the reading and all of that is just cut back on some of my projects. I'm going to have to work on raising my rates slowly. I'm going to have to work on being better scheduled out with stuff, saying no to things that I want to do, or saying no to projects that are just like kind of meh projects, which I guess is a good place to be. But I don't know. Gonna have to figure it out. But at the same time, I think it's going to be worth it to give myself a little bit more fun, free time. So those are my 3 wins and 3 losses for 2024. Would love to hear what you guys have on your plate. Maybe your 3 wins, 3 losses. Drop them in the comments or shoot us a DM on Instagram, or maybe send us an email, homestudiohangout@gmail.com, and do your 3 wins, 3 losses. I would love to read what you guys are doing, how your year has gone. Would love to see all of that. Something that I want to do this year kind of has to do with all of this, especially with the reading things. Something I want to do is I want to start our own little book club here on the podcast. It's something I've been wanting to do for a little bit. It's very low lift. I want to keep the books kind of themed around music stuff. We might do some fantasy books if you guys want to. We're going to start it with the music stuff, music and creativity and like those kind of things, creative business stuff, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I there's a couple of books that I want to start out with. And I think for the first month, there was a book that I read last year that I ended up kind of speed reading through a little bit. It was one on those times where I was like, I feel like this book needs to have more time and committed to it. And I just can't give that time because I was trying to get, through the 50 that I didn't end up getting to anyway. There's a book called Make Your Own Rules. And you can see my dog got to this copy of it. Make Your Own Rules by Andrew Huang. If you know Andrew Huang, he's a YouTuber. He's an incredible music producer, creative genius, in my opinion. I think he would be like a dream guest on the podcast for me. A great creative mind, especially like being in early YouTube and music production, kind of in a similar time. He's a little older than me, so like kind of in a similar time when I came up. So it's really interesting to see him in Canada figuring some of this stuff out. And it's kind of like a memoir of his life, but also like things that he's learned that he's trying to pass on to new people. So I think it would be super cool. And this is really geared towards our audience here at the Home Studio Hangout. So I would love our monthly book club book, first one to be Make Your Own Rules by Andrew Huang. If you want to pick it up, go grab it. It's on Kindle, Audible, any kind of e-reader. You get a physical copy. Go grab it. It's super good. I'm very excited to reread it with you guys, and I'm going to be reading it on Kindle this time so that I can take notes and kind of go through some of that, and so I can remember more of the stuff and be more intentional with reading it this time. So we're going to read this through the month of January, and then on the end of the month in January, we're going to do an episode called a book club episode, and I'm going to go through some stuff that I took away from the books. I'll ask you guys for some feedback of what you guys took away from the book, and we'll go through all of that stuff. Would love to hear feedback from you guys on this. And then we're going to pick another book, and then that'll be the book we get in February. Would super enjoy you guys to do this with me. I'm going to be doing it, and I'm going to be doing the episodes regardless. So feel free to join along, read along. If there's a way you think we could do this better, let me know. If you're in our Discord, hop in our Discord. I'm going to make a channel for the book club in the Discord, and we could talk about stuff there. But yeah, I would love for you to join me on this journey of reading books. We're just going to do one a month to keep it really, really simple. Thank you so much for listening to the Home Studio Hangout podcast. The 3 wins and 3 losses, 2024 overall positive year, big positive year. Very excited about what's going to happen in 2025. And I will see you next week with another guest episode, which I'm also very excited for you to hear. So bye.